if you just wanted like a general idea of what I think of this, I generally liked it. It was slower paced, which I kind of dug. Presentation is absolutely fantastic on this one. The sun peeking through the trees in like a Californian forest kind of thing. And also, it has some awesome music. Not only because it's awesome because, you know, it's Life is Strange, and Life is Strange tend to do very awesome music, but it's actually stuff that I know. You know, Gorillaz, Justice, that kind of stuff. Kind of felt a lot like the episode 2 in the original Life is Strange, where kind of the ending really ratchets up a lot of the interest for me, because it's such a crazy ending, which we'll get to, but we're going to just kind of keep it semi-spoilery for the moment. So the plot essentially is that the Diaz brothers, Sean and Daniel, are working at a pot farm, but, you know, we're kind of seeing tension kind of boiling over a bit, where, you know, Daniel is getting more powerful and more angry and less in control of his powers. On top of that, you know, we see kind of tensions arising from them being mistreated workers on this pot farm. It is definitely interesting, and I think the main thing I want to discuss with this episode, more so than the rest of this, is something that I've seen in reviews of this episode. So usually I don't read reviews of, you know, stuff I'm reviewing. You know, like with this, it's kind of a bit more of a casual kind of discussion of how I feel, so I'm kind of like, whatever. And the main issue that I've seen people saying, oh, this isn't a great episode because blank, is because this episode is rather slow. So not a lot of things are happening in this episode. The other episodes where, you know, the first episode obviously is setting up the entire story. You know, lots of things happen in, you know, a short space of time near the start of that episode. And the second episode, you know, like making the trek out to, you know, see their relatives and everything. Whereas this episode, not much happens. But I think I actually kind of like that. And I think a lot of the reason is kind of the issues that I've kind of been processing over the entire season thus far. You know, that there aren't a lot of side characters, there isn't a lot of characterization of other characters, which isn't to say that there's none, but episode 3, they definitely do a better job of it, in my opinion. There are like half a dozen characters, so not all of them can get characterized like perfectly, but I think for the amount of time that they had, they did a good job. For example, the campfire scene in this episode, you know, is kind of everyone going around sharing their worst memory. I thought that was, you know, a nice, simple little idea to kind of give people their backstory moment. It was a bit long, though, and I think the other example of a scene that was a bit slow, and this is definitely a low light, not only of the episode, but kind of the season as a whole so far, is a scene in which you're cutting marijuana plants. So the idea, I think, from the developers was, you know, we're trying to demonstrate that this is like a boring, monotonous job. And we've seen that being done before in various ways. We've seen stuff like Papers, Please, that it's kind of the entire game is this job simulator kind of thing. And similarly, we had a kind of different take on that in What Remains of Edith Finch. But the problem is, both of those are a lot more interesting. So Papers, Please, you know, it becomes more and more complicated, and there's moral underpinnings to some of the stuff that you're doing in this job. In the case of What Remains of Edith Finch, which I won't go into tons of details because spoilers for the best part of the game, there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more narrative underpinning to that. You know, there's a lot of stuff in there, whereas in this, you know, it was just this really long, drawn out kind of thing that really felt unnecessary, because it was just boring, and it was just, you know, every so often, you know, people would have conversations, and they'd be alright conversations, and you get some kind of characterization, but nowhere near as much as, you know, other scenes. Like, lots of other scenes were way more effective and a lot less boring. There was definitely the part where I felt like they didn't really succeed what they were setting out to do, and it definitely was very slow. Future editing Sam here. So I just wanted to add one other thing, which is in my first playthrough of this game, I did manage to get a homosexual relationship involving the character Finn. And this is really awesome. This is great representation. I did, though, want to mention the fact that upon doing later runs of this, I found that you can also have a heterosexual relationship with Cassidy, and it's nice that we have both, but it's fair to say that it is very much a heterosexual kind of preferencing system, shall we say, because in order to get, you know, like a homosexual relationship or homo-romantic or whatever relationship going, you essentially have to agree to doing the heist at the end of the game, or the end of the episodes, I should say. And that's kind of not great. That's kind of almost like a coercion thing. Whereas if you want to pursue a relationship with Cassidy, you can not only get a kiss, but you can also have like a sex scene. So I don't know. It's a bit odd that there's still a bit of a disparity, but it was still nice to have kind of that representation, I suppose. So let's talk about the ending, and, you know, spoilers, obviously. I was definitely freaking out at the ending. Because I don't know why, I think I was one of the very few people that was under the impression that Sean, like, dies in this sequence. So I was definitely very freaked out, because, you know, what a crazy twist to the story that the character we've been playing as might be dead. But by most accounts, like, generally people think that Sean is just unconscious. And it is very interesting to have kind of seen this arc of Daniel essentially becoming a supervillain. It is kind of, I suppose, a little bit annoying to me with this episode that it kind of felt like no matter how I tried to change things so that the ending wouldn't be, you know, as awful as it was, it kind of, if anything, ended up worse. That definitely did kind of bother me a bit. But I suppose, you know, if this is kind of a narrative thread that they have to kind of put into the game, it is what it is, I suppose. It's probably not my place to judge the episode for taking it to places that I would rather it not go. I mean, I didn't love the ending, but I don't think I'm supposed to love the ending. But overall, the episode, I generally liked it. It was a very good change of pace. And that ending definitely makes, you know, while I'm not like, yay, it definitely has my attention for what we're going to be seeing in episode 4. It's just a shame that's going to be like 3 months away. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and comment. And if you would like to support the entirety of the 8-Bit Collective, not only video makers such as myself, but also the podcasters, please donate to our 8-Bit Patreon. Anyway, hopefully I'm able to, you know, properly get back into doing videos pretty soon. But until then, thank you everyone for watching. Bye.